Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the St. Charles County Council's meeting of June 27th, 2016. We'll begin our meeting with an invocation from Pastor Jason Noble with the First Assembly Church of St. Peter's, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Dave Hammond.
Thank you for this opportunity. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for the incredible country and county and state that we live in. God, we thank you for, God, your wisdom and your grace. And Lord, tonight, I pray, God, for this council. I'd like to thank you for them. Lord, thank you for all that they do to lead our community, for the hours and the amount of time that they put in. And I pray a special blessing upon each member of the council and their family. Lord, for the challenges, God, that we face in our county, Lord, tonight I think specifically of those who are broken in addiction. God, I pray that as we work together, Lord, we would come up with solutions to help all of the many people who are in great need. And Lord, for every decision that's made here tonight, we pray for your wisdom, your guidance, and your goodness, Lord. God, thank you. In your name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Donna, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Joe Brazel.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Cronin.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hollander. Councilmember Mike Klinghammer.
Here.
Councilmember John White.
Here.
This evening, we have a public presentation to begin our meeting from Susan Trotman from the Great Rivers Greenway District. Ms. Trotman, if you're here, I'd like to welcome you to our council meeting. Thank you for coming, and please give us the message you came to tell us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So I just realized as this went up that our typeface changed, so bear with the typewriter look. Many of you I have spent quite a bit of time with, and there are some new faces as there are in the audience. So what I thought I would do is just sort of start with an overview about Great Rivers Greenway. I want to talk a little bit about the biggest project we have going in St. Charles. And then the main reason for coming out tonight is just to share with you that we are on our third update to our regional plan, which we're required to do every 5 years. So I believe Jennifer gave you a copy as well as our annual report. And then I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So I think many of you know that Great Rivers Greenway is a special park district. We cover St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County. We are a regional park district, and we overlay working with all of the other parks and recreation departments in the region, as well as 167 partners to make Great Rivers Greenway work. So we were passed in the year 2000 by a vote of the people, Proposition C, and at the same time in Madison and St. Clair County, a similar initiative passed. And so since that time, we have been working to develop an interconnected system of greenways, parks, and trails known as the River Ring. So it's our initiative, or what makes us different, is that we work in people's backyards, literally, in urban corridors, in highway right-of-ways. And it is an effort to connect our region to our greatest rivers, the Mississippi, the Merrimack, and the Missouri. We work in the watersheds between those rivers, and largely are working to transcend political boundaries to bring the region together through this system of greenways and parks. Our goal, though, is to help people live life outside. So we are really working on connecting people to the outdoors, helping people understand and appreciate all that this region has to offer and the great natural resources that we all share. So connecting the region is important to us because we want to make sure that St. Louis as a whole, not just the city, but all of the region, sees St. Louis as a vibrant, active place, and we all know millennials are looking for that outdoor experience, for the opportunity to connect beyond just driving in a car. So we may not have mountains, we may not have the sea, but we do have incredible rivers, and we have incredible natural resources. And so the goal of the district is to bring you to those natural resources, to be able to access them and use them for a variety of reasons, which I'll share with you. One is to connect communities, and we know that the longer and more contiguous a greenway is, the more it is used. When we opened the bridge in Kirkwood, connecting it to Oakland and Crestwood in southwest St. Louis County, Grants Trail became the most used greenway in the entire region. 750,000 people use it a year. It's pretty exciting that a few weeks ago the Boone Bridge opened, and I've ridden it the last 2 Saturdays, and I'm going to be really excited to see what those trail counts are, because there are a lot of people out there even when it's 95 degrees. So this is the first opportunity we've had to connect Chesterfield into Cottleville and Darden Prairie and Weldon Spring. So this is another great story about connecting the region, and if you haven't been out there, I encourage you to ride it. The Bush Greenway in particular is lit up with wildflowers right now. It is spectacular. Secondly, connecting people to nature is really important, and we know that there are lots of studies about children who have not been in the outdoors and how difficult it is for them in school and in learning. Providing safe access to the outdoors is a really important thing, but also teaching kids about the importance of outdoors, to value and appreciate our environment as they grow old, is a big part of what we do. This, of course, promotes a healthy lifestyle, which we're all interested in. And what we do know through the CDC is that if people have safe access to the outdoors, to parks and trails, they will exercise 3 times a week, 25% more of the time than they would have if they had to go to a gym or pay for a facility. So it's a really important thing to make sure that we do promote active, healthy lifestyles. And we work a lot in partnership, Betty's here in the crowd, with other parks departments to make sure that we've got programs and activities going on in the greenways throughout the region. Providing active transportation options is really important as well. So we work in concert with MoDOT, with all of the transportation departments here in the region, the munis, the counties, the city, as well as with Bi-State and numerous other nonprofits who are interested in active transportation. We worked with St. Charles County to develop the Gateway Bike Plan, which you all adopted a number of years ago, and since that time, in addition to the off-road trails, we've been working to develop bike lanes and provide support for municipalities in particular to provide bike lanes in their community or address pedestrian access issues. So enhancing our economy is vital. This is Barrett Haven. We just completed a study with the Trust for Public Land on the economic impact of Great Rivers Greenway, and what we found is that homes in the neighborhoods near the greenways have a 5% premium in market value, and that over the course of our time with the 113 miles we have now open, we've generated about $62.8 million in additional property value. So it's an important thing for our economy, not just for home values, but construction and the multipliers for those kinds of events and activities that we're involved in. Conserving our natural resources is really at the heart of it all. And so the other partnership that we have is working in concert with sewer districts, with water districts, working collaboratively to help preserve the environment and provide people with an opportunity to connect to it, but also to think about how we build things, incorporating rain gardens, bioswales, and best practices to make sure that not only do people have a good experience, but that our environment is safe for everyone in the future. We view ourselves as a legacy organization. The decisions we make are about 100 years. To be there for your grandchildren and their grandchildren, so we're very, very thoughtful about conservation and how we approach it. So I like to think of the river ring as being about our civic well-being, and a trail or a greenway is typically about your own personal well-being, because everybody seems to have a story that they resonate with, whether it's the Bush or the Darden or Bosch, wherever you live, that's your greenway and that's your trail. The district covers 1,200 square miles. We have made a decision to work in the 17 active greenways. There are 45 planned for the long term. We have about 54 active projects and 167 partners. You may not be aware of this, but we have a 15% administrative cap on our organization. So we're relatively small for the scale that we serve. We have a staff of 22 now. We will not get any larger. So the only way to achieve the project is in partnership. Usually what we'll do is build a project in conjunction with a number of organizations, and typically we'll turn it over to a municipality or other park and recreation department to help us maintain that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in terms of the regional plan. We know that we have 2 million users a year. We have eco counters out on the trails. They're very discreet, but they pick up all of the pedestrian and bicycle use. And then each summer we have an intern out on about 7 of our greenways to measure a little bit deeper what the demographics are outside in the summertime. We have 1,600 acres of land, and frankly, we are not in the land acquisition business. We are in the land connection business. Our goal is to connect the greenway system to existing other public acres. So to date, we are connected to 38,000 public acres. When we finish out the 17 greenways, we will have connected 64,000 public acres. So that's a big vision, but it gives people access in a way that they might not have otherwise. So, St. Charles. I do not have the best renderings, although we'll have some here in a few months. This is a project that connects the St. Charles County Heritage Museum across 364 and 94, and Councilman White has been a big advocate and partner for this project. It's a long time coming. So we are just about ready to submit to MoDOT to bid this project out. It is 100% in the MoDOT right-of-way and right-of-way of the city of St. Charles. This kind of shows you where the two bridges will be across 364 and 94. And this is the way the highway looks today. And this is not an exact rendering of the bridge. It'll actually look a little bit more like the Highway 44 bridge, which is sort of more like a rail trestle. But you'll get a sense that it's going to be well above, so we've got quite a bit of wall work to do. It's about a $5 million project. We have a $1 million Transportation Alternative Program grant to help us out with the project. This is the other view, and just a quick look at how these bridges will span the interstate. So I will share with Jennifer, if you're not aware, I think you are, that she's been a great addition to our board, and we'll make sure you get a copy of these renderings as soon as we have them. Any questions about that, or do you want to come back to it? Yeah.
I would just say how important this bridge is to connect to St. Charles County, and it'll really enhance our system.
Sure.
So, and it's been a long time coming.
It has. So there's about 10,000 homes around this immediate area, and what it will do is help connect the people, particularly on the north side, to the Heritage Museum, which will connect you into the Katy Trail and then into the larger network of the system. So it is an important connection. We will be working with the City of St. Charles to address pedestrian connections on the other side and then begin connecting into the trail system from there.
Do you have a timeline on that?
From a construction perspective, we expect to be out to in construction next spring, and it's about an 18-month construction period.
Good.
Okay. The other comment I'll make, just to make you aware, we've got 2 nights on each highway to close, so we're working very closely with MoDOT to plan that so that we don't affect traffic very much, but it'll be 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. closures for 2 nights while we're under construction. So I wanted to share this evening an update to our regional plan, which we're required to do every 5 years. The first plan was building the river ring. It envisioned the river ring and the idea of connecting our region through the trails. The next plan in 2010, which is when I first joined Great Rivers Greenway, is called Build, Promote, and Sustain. And we engage some 400 citizens, stakeholders in that process. And what we heard loud and clear was we can't just build it, we have to promote and we have to think about long-term sustainability. So that plan laid out 45 strategies in connection with building, promoting, and sustaining. So as we moved into 2016, what we have focused on is creating exceptional user experience and action plans around those 45 strategies. We've done a lot of good things, but we know we can do better. And so we worked in partnership to think about what needed to be done to elevate what we're building, and then how do we promote and sustain it over the long run. So we began with staff workshops, identifying issues that we had and concerns. We held a board retreat with the Great Rivers Greenway Board in August of last year, began developing the plan outline. And what is unique about this plan is it is largely staff-driven with partner and stakeholder input, so we wrote it ourselves in lieu of hiring someone to do it for us. We had extensive stakeholder and community engagement throughout the winter. So we had Public Works and Parks Maintenance staff in, we had park directors in, we had planners in, and we talked a lot about what was working and what's not working so well. So the action plans sort of address a number of issues that I'll share with you. So some of them are internal action plans, 13 of them in particular to build upon the district's 40 strategies, still focused on building, promoting, and sustaining. But the intent is to make sure that when you're out there using the Greenway, you are having an exceptional experience. So building the river ring, which, oops, that went a little fast, sorry about that. We really didn't change much in terms of what our goals are, but we thought a lot deeper about how we prioritize capital projects. So up until this point, we had about $30 million in bonds that were issued in 2007, so we were able to do a lot of projects everywhere. Now, we're limited to the revenues that are coming in, and we're being very, very conservative about our cash flow and how we decide what projects will go forward. So we have been working with all of the municipalities out here in St. Charles with Betty's team and with your transportation department, looking at what are the next things that will come in St. Charles. And there are a number of criteria that this group helped develop to make those decisions. We're also looking at Greenway phasing plans. So when we want to finish out the Darden or the Bosch, or do we make these next connections after the bridge, what are the priorities in terms of phasing it? And then that yields the capital project priority. And then sort of reorganizing internally in Great Rivers Greenway. So heretofore, we've always had a project manager from beginning to end. Now we're incorporating the promote and sustain teams, communications, marketing, operations, and maintenance into the early design of a project so that we can address level of care in terms of how things are maintained in the long run, and also talk about design standards, because what we found is some partners can maintain things to a higher level than others, and so it can't be uniform. So we're working together with the partners to determine how best to build a project. Secondly, promoting the river ring is extremely important, and we heard that loud and clear from the public and from our stakeholders. And given that we have a limited staff, 3 people who are focused on all communications, marketing, programming, we've got to do it in partnership. And so we've been working hard, primarily with Parks and Recreation departments, to talk about how can we enhance community engagement, how can we partner on programs, how can we work together on a website. In fact, a couple weeks ago, we held a big event called Life Outside in Creve Coeur Park, where we brought some 45 partners together and offered all kinds of opportunities for people to just explore the outdoors, whether they're on a bike or they're paddling, climbing trees, whatever it is. All of that is in partnership, and we plan to continue and grow in that area. Finally, I'm going to spend a little time on sustaining the river ring, because that's really been the challenging piece. The model of building something and turning it over to an operating partner has worked really, really well in some parts of our region, and not so well in other parts of our region. So beginning to understand what the partner issues are, what do we need to do to help with that, and also thinking strongly about integrating conservation management in the projects and working with partners to understand that. So working with stakeholders this coming year, part of this plan is to develop a consistent operating plan where partners are working with us together to help determine, what the issues are and how do we set standards that everybody can live with, and then where do we need to be flexible. Finally, we're really focused on our long-term finances. We know that tax revenues, as you all know, are limited, and we have some projects that are bigger and bolder than our tax revenues will allow. And then we also have some needs in our region where parts of our region are economically distressed and they need more support. So in the last year, we have formed the Great Rivers Greenway Foundation, and we will be looking to raise some private funds to help in those areas, whether it's doing a big, bold project or doing a project in an area of the region that needs help. Using private dollars to help stretch the tax dollars and make the experience better for everyone. So working with partners, again, this is a volunteer effort. We're working really hard to develop a volunteer organization, but also in concert with other volunteer organizations that also exist, and focusing on that operations and maintenance piece so that no matter what trail you're on, you have a good experience. And as you move through communities, it begins to feel the same, and you have the same good experience. The Greenway Foundation will support our mission. It's completely tied to projects of Great Rivers Greenway, but it's also a great way to engage people and get them involved with us, and expand our support, whether it's through volunteers or donors or programs. So we're just now launching that. We'll be working with that group through the rest of this year to make a bigger announcement about it in the coming year. Finally, we know we need to measure our impact. So the metrics around the work that we do, whether it's an economic impact study related to users, conservation, sustainable practices are all things that we're going to be looking at to do some research to help support the work that we do and to be able to answer questions that people have. So with that, I will invite you to live life outside, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions? Comments? Questions? I have one.
Sure.
I represent an area that has you have nothing in, okay? I'm west of Highway 79 and north of 70, okay? What can I tell my constituents that are paying these taxes and really have nothing in their particular area? And more specifically is the revenue, the St. Charles County derived percentage of the revenue that you take in, are you expending a similar amount of that revenue back into this county?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
with the passage of Proposition P, we've had to be very careful to account for all of the revenue. Frankly, before that, we were spending a little bit more revenue than St. Charles was bringing in because we made decisions based on regional priorities. Right now, what we're doing is making sure that you get everything that you're giving in revenue back every year. Secondly, to answer your question about your residents, every greenway is open to them, no matter what part of the region they live in. There will come a time when we begin to advance more greenways, particularly in your part of the region, and if there's an interest in particular, please let me know where that might be. We believe that by completing the 17 greenways and making those connections, getting the Darden complete, getting the Bush complete so that you can move throughout St. Charles County, that benefits everyone. What we found is when we build trail segments and then we move to somewhere else, people aren't as connected and we don't get the strength and support that we need in that greenway system. Having constituents who can move from community to community really changes the complexion of the greenway. So what I would do is invite your residents to come join us on any of the greenways in the district, and if they need a little more information about how to be connected in, just shoot me a note. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, and I would invite you to talk to the folks out in Wentzville because
I'd love to.
And they don't really have, if a young family out there, don't want to take a drive and get in a car and drive to Harvester to hook onto a trail. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity up there to work
Right.
with those folks too.
So
That's a big growth area for our county.
It is. In fact, I was out in Wentzville a couple of weeks ago at the St. Charles County Municipal League having a similar conversation with them. So have a lot of good dialogues going with the mayors throughout
Good.
St. Louis, St. Charles County.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
may I ask a question? Susan, thank you for being here. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the Bush Greenway, and I was just curious, is that on Conservation Department land?
It's on Missouri Research Park and Bush Greenway Conservation Land. So all of the wildflowers that you see
So
blooming.
the Bush Conservation Area? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did they, what, do you have an easement, or?
We have a license agreement and an easement and an operation and maintenance agreement with the Missouri Department of Conservation and MoDOT.
With Conservation? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. If you haven't seen the wildflowers blooming out there, they are amazing. I was surprised myself. I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. So, all right. Well, thank you all for having me. I really do appreciate the
Thank you
opportunity
for
to
your
come
time
out
and
and speak.
thank you for coming out here.
Thanks for your support.
Okay, moving on. We're going to the public comments section of the meeting. I'd like to inform folks out there, if they wish to comment, please drop your contact information by the council secretary so we have a way to contact you after the meeting. Also, we ask you to limit your time speaking to 3 minutes, and if there's multiple viewpoints on a subject, we will alternate back and forth between the pro and cons of those viewpoints. We will take no more than 3 comments regarding any item on, that we're speaking about this evening. So that being said, is there someone who would like to speak in public comments? Yes, ma'am. Would you please come forward?
Good evening. My name is Lisa Portilla. This is my son, Greg Portilla. Greg graduated from North last year, and he attends the community college. Greg is very, very bright. Greg's receptive language is excellent. He understands everything. He communicates a little differently than we do. So I think I'm going to be allowed to speak for him next. And if you have any questions, I'll help you translate yes and no. So again, my name is Lisa Portilla, and I'm here to speak about PUD 1600002. It will be put before you at the next meeting. Your political predecessors zoned this area residential in 1959, and again zoned it for single-family residential in 1973. Families, your people, bought land, built their homes, raised their children, and made their lives here. Now 2 people want to undo all that and disrupt hundreds of families, thousands of people, dozens of communities. Their monetary greed clearly supersedes their concern for our existing neighborhoods and the peace and quiet we have had in our community for decades. There are hundreds of us against this. It's very hard to get us all in one place at one time, especially on a Monday night at 7 o'clock. Some people work nights, some people have kids, got a flat tire and ran late, had a death in the family, care for elderly parents, won't drive after dark, have health issues. You all know. I went to the planning and zoning meeting where this was discussed. Here's let me get the right word, the staff recommendation. They recommended that it be denied. Your experts recommended that it be denied at that level. Planning and zoning passed it 7-1. Thank you, Dan Cleary, for your no vote. Several of us spoke against it. So no one spoke for it. Several of us spoke against it. The professional staff recommended against it, and it went 7-1. We're concerned that the same thing could happen when it hits the county council. We don't want that same thing to happen. We feel our words landed on deaf ears. So we'll amp things up, we'll get ourselves together, we'll make a stronger show. The county ordinances that are in place should prevent this proposal from even being approved. Please look up E-Code 360H1 and E-Code 360B. There are more as well. There are other laws currently in place that should prevent this proposal from passing. Quiet enjoyment is a Missouri law. It reads, "The right to quiet enjoyment is a legal right that allows you to be free of disturbances and/or nuisances while in your home or apartment." Let me tell you, there are hundreds of us who will be disturbed by loud bands, 500 partygoers, cars leaving at all hours of the night, and everything else that comes with a wedding and a reception venue. I implore you, please look at what we had for you tonight. We'll have more for you soon. You're going to be hearing from your people, emails, calls. We're trying to band together. It's very hard. I'm newer to the neighborhood. I don't know my neighbors well. I'm meeting them now, but I'm just asking you, please, don't put this through. This is a residential area. It's been zoned that way for decades. There are families there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the conditional use permit? Or I believe it, pardon me, this has not hit our agenda at all yet. So
I understand.
Is there anyone like to speak in favor of the issue this lady just brought up? She's opposed to. Hearing none, we'll move on to other public comments.
Greg, may I read your comments for you? He's looking up to say yes. My name is Greg Portilla. I was born with cerebral palsy. Just so you know, Greg and I worked on this last night and today. These are Greg's things that he wanted to say to you. I have a long history of grand mal seizures. When I get too hot or too tired, I stop breathing and turn blue. My mom bags me until the firefighters arrive with oxygen. Then the EMTs come in with Valium to stop the seizure. I go by ambulance to the ER where they stabilize me. Then I helicopter to Children's Hospital. It's no fun. My doctors have done a great job of controlling my seizures with medicine. Mom makes sure I get enough rest and stay cool. I do not want to have any more life-threatening seizures. The proposed party center is right behind my bedroom window. I can see Powell Mansion from my bedroom window. You all have pictures. I will hear bands and their paying guests partying late into the night. I need my sleep to be safe and stay alive. There are no wedding reception places anywhere in St. Charles County in a residential area. There are really good reasons for that. You've got the Stegton, Heart of St. Charles, All Occasions, Christie, all lovely places, all in business districts, not residential. They have a right to have their business. I have a right to a good night's sleep. Please say no to this proposal. My mom called the people at the ADA for me today. They will be representing my rights as this proposal goes forward. Thank you. Greg, is there anything else you'd like to say? No. Did I say everything correct for you? Is that what you wanted them to know? He's looking up for yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, both of you. Okay, again, no one in the audience to speak in favor of this proposal. Seeing none, we'll move on to anyone else like to speak about public comments tonight.
It's hard to talk to you after that presentation. My name is Miriam Mayen, Executive Director of Saints Joe Camarán Care Service, and I am here again talking to you about Proposition S. Hopefully tonight you will pass it. I primarily want to thank you. Once it's passed, that will give us the opportunity to go out there in St. Charles County and educate the taxpayers on the importance of Prop S. I thank you for all the work that have gone into making sure that this bill go forward. I thank the legal staff and county staff and all of you. So primarily, I thank you, and I hope you join us as well in educating the public on the stuff that is going on that is affecting so much of our senior citizens in our community. So on that, that's primarily what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sister. Is anyone else here like to speak in opposition of Proposition S? Yes, ma'am, please come forward.
Yes, my name is Veronica Teague, and I don't know if I'm necessarily opposed to Proposition S, but I'm wondering, what are you going to do about the homes that you are taxing with the elderly? Are you going to also tax them this 5%?
If you're asking a question for me, yes, it would apply to every property owner in St. Charles County.
Well, I don't think that's a good deal because we're overtaxed already as senior citizens.
And as a senior citizen, I would highly agree with you with that.
Okay.
But then again, I don't, this is for you to comment, not a dialogue, but
okay.
The state legislature allowed this to be put before the ballots. 51 counties approved it. It's going to come between St. Louis City and St. Louis County.
Okay.
So there are some people that say this should be something that should be decided by the people of this county.
Okay. Well, I'll just say what I have to say for later.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of Proposition S? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jamie Opsel. I'm the project manager for Seniors Count. Live in Cottleville, Missouri, and I just wanted to respond to this nice lady's question. For people, residents of St. Charles County who are 65 years of age and older who make $30,000 or less have a senior service tax break of $1,100 per year. And for those are for people who own their home, and for elderly people who rent their home, they have a tax break of $750. So that would give them the funding to be able to afford the $9.50 a year for their tax. If she wants to have more information, I'd be more than happy to share that information with you. Yes. Thank you.
I think the council would like that information too.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to speak against Proposition S? Is there anyone that would like to speak then again for Proposition S? Seeing none, is there anyone that would like to speak about any other matter before the council this evening? Yes, ma'am?
My name is Melissa Richardson, and I'm just here to kind of reiterate what Lisa had brought up. But one thing I want to present to you and invite you all is to our subdivision before the July 11th meeting to consider rezoning. Many of you live in St. Charles County, obviously, but would you want to live with your home in the heart of St. Charles in your backyard, seeing 500 people on a Friday night, Saturday night, every single week? We are here to invite you out. We beg of you to come drive the area off Maclay, St. Peter's Howell, the gravel road off of St. Peter's Howell. Come into our subdivision, Pines Drive, Linda Lane. The applicant for the rezoning has stated you cannot see any properties from this rezoning plan. That is a bold-faced lie. I will have pictures at the next meeting from many of our neighbors' front porches, backyards, and I invite you to drive the neighborhood, see how many hundreds of homes will be affected. We'll have a barbecue. We'll invite you all. Drive it on a Friday night at 5 o'clock. Try to get down St. Peter's Hall Road. See how long that takes you. Try that on a Friday night with an additional 250 cars trying to come to a wedding reception. Lisa has presented some information tonight. We will have more information before the next meeting, but I beg of you, please don't consider this until you've driven these properties and see what we are dealing with firsthand. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else would like to speak about any matters this evening? Mr. Dienoff?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. Just one second here. A.C. Dienoff, resident public advocate. First of all, I'd like to thank August Bush, who lives on 79, for his generous and wonderful gift to the Parks Department. It's something that I think will be a good hunter's education item for practicing shooting safety. I'd like to announce, unfortunately, thanks to the bad decision of Jean Ellman, the wife of the county executive who is chair of the Community College District, the board has decided to hire Dr. Barbara Cavalier, a released president of a Texas community college system, from her contract. The board of trustees there is not happy with her services, but yet she got hired by our board of our community college district. Our board here is paying her an annual salary of $216,000 in a 3-year contract, and that's kind of sad. A $10,000 relocation fee, a $2,000 a month living allowance, a $600 car allowance, $130 cell phone benefits, 22 vacation days, and a pension. In terms of our election authority, we need a transparent, honest, and fair election authority for the August 2nd primary election and the general election held in November. As you all know, I'm on the ballot running for Lieutenant Governor, President of the State Senate. All 113 counties, except my home county, has mailed me a sample ballot. And as you can see on the screen, there's the state law that dictates that the election authority must mail a sample ballot to the party chairman of each party and to each person that's on the ballot for a primary. We need an election commission to oversee tyrant Rich Krismer, the director of elections, and his incompetent assistant director, Melanie Stilson, who was arrested by the St. Louis County Police Department for felony theft charges in August. I am shooting a warning shot across the bow to the county councilor and the county election authority that if the following is not met as mandated by law, Chapter 115, we will be before a circuit court judge. One, that by July 3rd, Chapter 115.391, as on the screen, is met by mailing a sample ballot to each and every candidate on the ballot. Mr. Krismer refuses to follow the state law. 2, that all styles of the sample ballots are posted in a very public place at the elections building. That I be allowed to view all sample ballots without 1, interference from Rich Krismer. 2, that I not be assaulted or harassed, as currently being investigated by the St. Peter's Police in an April incident with Mr. Krismer and being investigated by the county prosecutor. 3, that a public test is required by Chapter 115 by law, that I not be harassed by Rich Krismer or county police officers assigned to that detail.
Would you please wrap it up?
Yes, I will.
This is for a major call for an election commission. We are a growing county, and the need is there. Mr. Elam states that we're one of the last counties not to have a port authority. Well, we're one of the last counties not to have an election oversight commission. We need an elections commission. Nothing is being done. The time is now for a charter amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denoff. Is there anyone else who would like to come speak before the council this evening? Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to the next section of the meeting. Oral report from County Executive Steve Ellman.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, seeing no report from the County Executive, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda this evening?
Motion to be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda passes. Moving on to resolution number 16-04.
Resolution number 1604, sponsored by council as a whole, a resolution expressing the appreciation of the St. Charles County Council to Don Bamer on the occasion of his retirement from his position as Assistant Director of Administration Internal Intergovernmental Affairs. Whereas Don Bamer began his employment with St. Charles County in the Assessor's Office from 1970 until January 1979, and whereas Don Bamer was also employed with St. Charles County as an associate judge from January 1979 to December 1982, and whereas Don Bamer served as co-chair for the St. Charles County Charter Commission from May 1991 until February 19, 1992, and whereas Don Bamer returned to St. Charles County on January 1, 2007, when he was appointed by County Executive Steve Ellman as Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, and later became the Assistant Director of Administration, Intergovernmental Affairs. And whereas Don Bamer served on the board and was president of the board from 2003 to 2004 term for United Services for the Handicapped, now known as United Services for Children. And whereas Don Bamer served on the board for the Boys and Girls Club of St. Charles County, and whereas Don Bamer has been a member of the St. Charles JCs, and whereas Don Bamer served on the board and was president of the board in 1996 for the St. Charles Chamber of Commerce, now the Greater St. Charles County Chamber of Commerce, and whereas Don Bamer served on the Urban Choice Coalition, and whereas Don Bamer served on the Transportation Policy Advisory Committee of the East-West Gateway Coordinating Council in 2000, and whereas Don Bamer served on the St. Charles County Advisory Board to the Regional Commerce and Growth Association, RCGA, and whereas Don Bamer served on the Community Leadership Roundtable, and whereas it was always a pleasure working with Don Bamer, as he is a man of good nature, prompt, dedicated, and willing to give his undivided attention. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of St. Charles County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the St. Charles County Council hereby commends Don Bamer for his distinguished career with St. Charles County government and his exemplary commitment to this government, and further takes this opportunity to applaud the contributions of Don Bamer and to ensure they are duly noted and recorded herein as a tribute. Section 2, the St. Charles County Council, on behalf of the citizens of St. Charles County, hereby expresses sincere appreciation and heartfelt thanks to Don Bamer for his many years of dedicated service and wish him every happiness and well-earned enjoyment in his retirement as he looks back with pride on his accomplished career.
Quite a resolution. And if you know Don, and Don, I hope you're watching us tonight. Don's quite a guy. He's quiet and unassuming, but he's a hard worker, and he's had his hands on a lot of good things in this county. Literally is one of the founding fathers of the county charter. And with that being said, and I'm hoping Don's watching, Mr. Ellman, you could probably speak to that much better than I could.
I don't know where he is. If he was sticking around, I'd discipline him for not showing up.
We might have to add the word humble,
yeah,
too.
he's at physical therapy like there isn't any other time he could have scheduled a physical therapy.
Coincidental.
We all know why Don's not here. He you know, they say character is what you do when nobody's looking. And I would offer the Bamer corollary to that principle, and that is character is when you achieve a lot of great things for your community, but you don't want to take any credit for it. And you don't even want to let your friends thank you. So we'll have to thank him individually. I certainly can't imagine the last 10 years without him, and I'm sure he won't ride off into the sunset. I'm sure he'll still be very involved in his community, as he always has been. And I know all of us will miss him as a colleague and as a friend.
Call roll.
Resolution 16-04, a resolution expressing the appreciation of the St. Charles County Council to Don Bamer on the occasion of his retirement from his position as Assistant Director of Administration, Intergovernmental Affairs. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Resolution passes, and enjoy yourself, Mr. Bamer. Moving on to bills for final passage, we'll begin with Bill number 4350.
Bill number 4350, requested by Michael Hurlbert, sponsored by Joe Brazel, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to RR Single Family Residential District as per application RZ 16-000006.
Questions or comments regarding Bill number 4350? Hearing none.
An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to RR Single Family Residential District as per application RZ 16-000006. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Bill 4350 passes. Moving on to Bill 4351.
Bill number 4351, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from RR Single Family Residential District to A Agricultural District as per application RZ 16-000008.
Questions and comments on Bill number 4351? Hearing none.
An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from RR Single Family Residential District to A Agricultural District as per application RZ 16-000008. Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Bill number 4351 passes. Moving on to Bill 4352.
Bill number 4352, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 16-000004 for construction equipment and heavy machinery, new and used, sales, lease, rental, repair, and storage to Tri-County Christian Church property owners and Austin Craig applicant.
Questions and comments regarding Bill 4352?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we table this bill. I understand there's still some details that need to be worked out.
Second.
All in favor of tabling Bill number 4352?
Aye.
Opposed? We tabled Bill 4352. This is in my district, and Mr. Craig has made a very concerted effort to try to appease the residents of the area, the city of Wentzville, and our own staff, and he just needs a bit more time. So we'll talk about this next meeting. Moving on to Bill number 4353.
Bill number 4353, an ordinance amending ordinance 15-062 by authorizing the execution of an amended St. Charles County Regional Drug Task Force Agreement for the county's multi-jurisdictional drug task force.
Questions and comments regarding Bill 4353? Hearing none.
An ordinance amending ordinance 15-062 by authorizing the execution of an amended St. Charles County Regional Drug Task Force Agreement for the county's multi-jurisdictional drug task force. Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Bill number 4353 passes. Moving on to Bill number 4354.
Bill number 4354, an ordinance amending the 2016 budget adopted by ordinance 15-117 for positions within the St. Charles County Police Department arising from the reorganization of the Regional Drug Task Force and placement of the task force in the police department.
Questions or comments regarding Bill number 4354? Hearing none.
An ordinance amending the 2016 budget adopted by ordinance 15-117 for positions within the St. Charles County Police Department arising from the reorganization of the Regional Drug Task Force and placement of the task force in the police department. Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes. Bill number 4354 passes. Moving on to Bill 4355.
Bill number 4355, an ordinance waiving liquor license fees for certain concessions operations of the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of St. Charles for the period July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2017.
Questions or comments regarding Bill number 4355? Hearing none.
An ordinance waiving liquor license fees for certain concession operations of the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of St. Charles for the period July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2017. Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Bill number 4355 passes. Moving on to Bill 4356.
Bill number 4356, an ordinance calling and providing for the holding of an election in the County of St. Charles on the 8th day of November 2016 for the purpose of submitting to the qualified voters of said county a proposal to impose a countywide property tax of 5 cents per each $100 of assessed valuation to establish a senior citizen services fund to improve the health, nutrition, and quality of life of persons 65 years of age or older who are residents of the county.
Chair will entertain a motion on this.
Motion to accept substitute Bill 4356.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, opening up comment and questions for Bill, substitute Bill number 4356.
I got a question.
I'll let Terry lead off since it's his bill, if that's okay. Go ahead.
The reason for the substitute, or two reasons really. One is the state statute defining a senior as being 60 years old rather than 65. And the second thing was the addition of a sunset clause so that should this body pass this ordinance and it goes to the voters and the voters in November approve it, it would not be in perpetuity. This would be put back to the voters for their approval, 7 years down the road. 10, well, it's
7 or 10?
It's 10,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
depending on where you look at where they
Okay.
actually
All right.
start collecting the money.
Right.
The point that I want to make is that I really believe that if the citizens and this board pass this, that within that period of time, there'll be an awful lot of really good things occurring. But I also believed in respect to voters and the taxpayers, that things should be reexamined after a period of time. And I have no doubt and all the confidence in the world that this fund will be used in a very, very meaningful and good manner. So that's the purpose for the substitute.
Mr. Brazel.
I got a couple comments. Is there, the 10 years seems like an awful long time to put this to test, and basically that's what this is doing, is put it to test. And wouldn't 5 years be more reasonable to see how effective the money's being appropriated and that sort of thing? And that's one point. The other point is when we put a ballot issue on this, I'm just curious, how are you guys paying for the election to advise people on which way to vote? How is that being paid for? Yeah, whoever is the director.
That question, let's pass that to Joanne.
Well, there is no cost. It's going on in a November election.
No, that's not, no, it's not passing to Joanne. I'm asking them that they're gonna, ma'am, could you please stand up?
How they can pay for the election costs or pay for the campaign?
The campaign, who's
Okay.
paying for the campaign?
We have volunteers who are doing campaign fundraising.
So it's gonna be donations, is that coming out of
Donations,
your
correct,
coffers?
right.
Okay, that was
Correct.
one question, because I was concerned about that. The other thing I'm concerned about is what is the percentage of senior citizens that are right on the cuff, right on the bell curve, so to speak, of, like, you used these percentages at the last meeting, that there were so many seniors that are progressing, and that we're having more seniors and more seniors coming of age. So what's the percentage of seniors that are right on the teetering point of financial trouble or financial woe, so to speak?
Well, we know that when we looked specifically at St. Charles County, Almost half of all elderly women live below what we call the Elder Economic Index. And what that is that when a person spends more than almost half of their income just on housing, utilities, either rent or mortgage or insurance and food and transportation, that they're then having to decide how they're going to keep, they're having to rob Peter to pay Paul in order to say, okay, well, I can't get my medication this time, but I can put it toward my electric bill because it's been so hot, and so forth. So we know that for a lot of, once seniors are on a fixed income, that it impacts almost half of all elderly women. So we look specifically at income levels for people in St. Charles County who either rent and own a home, whether they're married or widowed or a widower.
Because
I can get you that data if that would be of help to you.
well, no, but if there's an increase in seniors, and I think Mr. Cronin might have pointed this out at the last meeting, but then you're raising property taxes to everybody, and the tax incentive that you talk about, using her an example, the $1,100 tax break, you're going to get that anyway. I mean, it doesn't apply. You get no difference of a tax incentive regardless of if the property taxes are increased or not. You're still offered that or afforded that the two tax incentives that you talked about. So that's what.
Would you explain the mechanics of what you explained to that lady?
So basically, that tax incentive is on the books, and people can apply for that. Unfortunately, most people are unaware that it even exists.
Well, what I'm saying is that's regardless of whether or not you increase property taxes or not. That already exists. So,
correct.
Yeah, so that's not really inaccurate. When you say, well, you can do this tax incentive after we raise property taxes, that's really not an accurate analysis. That's all I'm pointing out.
Oh, and I guess I was just pointing out to her is that has she taken advantage of this? My guess is that many people are unaware of it and haven't taken advantage. And if they would know about current resources, they would take advantage of it, and would be happy then to receive additional services that the new senior service fund could give in addition to that. Because the $9.50 is minimal compared to what it would take to get a taxi to the doctor just one time.
No, I get it. I guess what I'm going to say is I'm not going to support this, and what you guys do is great. I always support you. I try to get you a counselor for the drug and heroin problem, and that's not the point behind me not supporting you. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that I don't, in the 16 years I've been on the council, we've never raised taxes. And I'm not saying that this is a bad cause. I'm not saying that because it's like fighting against puppies, kids, and seniors. You just can't do those sort of things. But, and if it were just me, that it was just my money and I was choosing just for me, then I'd say, yeah, this is great. That's a good thing. But I'm voting to put it on the ballot, and it's going to be a very hard issue to fight because it's puppies, kids, and seniors. It's one of those things. And there's not going to be a group fighting against it, but there'll be a forced fight or supporting it. And it's just one of those ballot issues that it's just a slippery slope. It's like the churches and Sister Marion, she does a great job. You guys have always done a great job supporting people and doing your thing. And I just don't think that we should go down that slope. That's just my principles. I'm just wired that way. And so I can't support it. I can't when you say you're going to you're supporting it to put it on the ballot, that means you support it because there's not going to be a force that can fund fighting it. So that means you support it, which is fine, but it is what it is. And I just don't support tax increases. And that's just it. I'm sorry.
I respect your opinion. That's fine. I just know that I'm not a part of St. Joe Manan. I can tell you though that many times people will say to me, well, why don't businesses give more to senior services? Well, it's not part of their business plan to give to the poor. Why don't churches give more to senior programs and services? They do through maybe St. Vincent de Paul and so forth, but they too have to keep the lights on. They too have bills, and it's not a large percentage of their total income they can continue to give to poor. So we know that we need all hands on deck. We need a little bit from churches, from taxes, from donations. We need all help to support this huge senior tsunami that's coming.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
May I ask a question? Your explanation, 2 different times. Are you talking about the circuit breaker?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think if you just called it that, a lot of people would know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So with the circuit breaker, you can get a break, like you
Correct.
said, which is quite substantial compared to the actual
Tax.
cost here.
Correct.
Okay. The only other comment I'd have, Mr. Chairman, if I could make it right now, is that I really appreciate the substitute putting in the 10-year sunset. That's what we've had for, 40 years on our transportation tax. And it's good. Every year we've got to go back and show the people exactly what they've gotten over the last 10 years. And every time we've done that, they've given us a higher number. I think it was 78 or 81% or something like that the last time. So, and there's other taxes out there that, quite frankly, I think are kind of obsolete, but they're there. And I don't think they would be reapproved if they had to go back to the voters. So I think this is a good thing for the voters. I'd ask Joanne to just address the 10 years versus 5 or 8, which we first talked about.
Absolutely. So recognizing that you have to prepare that should the tax fail and that it's supporting providers who are actually dealing services to people, you would always put your renewal on at least 2 years out, so that if it did fail, you would have the ability to have providers scale back and find other potential, it may be lesser services, but at least services for people. So knowing that you have to go 8 years out, and when I was at the state, I started a number of social service program expansions when I was with developmental disabilities. The first year that you collect a tax like this, it's essentially not on the books for use by a provider at all. It'll be collected essentially by December 31st of 17 if it would pass, but it's not available to be spent until 18. So assuming that we get a board established and we get an incredibly efficient application process in place, the first year that it would be available for usage would be 18. And these folks can tell me if I'm off in these days, because it's been 20 some odd years since I did this, but usually in the first year of a startup program, by the time you hire and train, find providers, you're looking at, you probably expend about 30 to 35% of the tax in the first year, or the increase in funding, usually around 70 in the second year, and you get to 95 to 98% in the third year. So you need 3 years plus the year that you're collecting the tax for the first time to ramp up. So you're really only going to give this tax 4 years of, excuse me, of usefulness before it goes back on the ballot and has to be determined by the voters. So that's the reason I had suggested to Steve 10 years rather than 8, or a lesser amount of time to answer.
Why do we need a new board? Why could we not use the existing community assistance board for this, make those decisions, funding decisions?
I'll leave that to the county councilor unless he wants to punt, but.
Yeah, the statute, which is 67.993, I think, speaks to some board memberships and the length of the terms and so forth, and it makes pretty clear that you have to create your own board. Now, could you name the same individuals? I suppose you could, but they're being appointed for this particular board. You can't just suddenly say the Community Assistance Board is going to be the board for this senior tax.
Other questions, comments? I have a few. I'll wait till the other guys. I don't like this tax whatsoever, and I really respect this lady for coming forward. But here's what you're doing in a nutshell. You're charging additional property tax to the vast majority of seniors like that lady who are doing everything she can to make her life. And then you're giving some of that money back to some people that maybe they choose to retire too early, or maybe they didn't put enough money in their IRA or their 401k, or maybe they live beyond their means. And I don't like it, okay? That being said, the folks over at that desk have done a lot of work the last few years, okay, to get the property taxes down in this county to the point that we have zero property tax that supports St. Charles County government. And I think by increasing that tax, we're stepping back to where we used to be before all their hard work. I also had a county councilman, former county council, come up to me and say a similar situation happened with this child services taxes years ago, and I heard sisters saying that we got the child services tax, now we get the seniors tax. Well, this child services tax, The council put it on the ballot, it got voted down. The council put it on the ballot a second time, it got voted worse. And then they got petition signatures to put it on a minor election, and it passed. And I don't like those tactics, and I oppose this. That being said, the state legislature enabled this to happen. 51 counties approved it. You're going to the ballots in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and I think our citizens have a right to vote on it. But I would like to remind the citizens that there's a way to contribute to senior services, and that is through Project CARE, which a lot of people worked on, where they can donate on their property taxes, and that money can go to the Community Assistance Board to help seniors. It's not been very successful, and I find that disappointing as I worked on it. But the same token, to tax ladies like that lady so that you can give that money to other people, to me, that rubs me wrong as an American. And I agree with Mr. Brazel on that. I just disagree with him in one respect, that I think people should have the ability to vote this up or down, and I predict it'll get voted down. But the same token, I do respect the right of the people in this county to vote on an issue like that. And that's my 2 cents, okay? So thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments further? Okay. I'm sorry, I just had to vent.
Hey, brother, that's what you're here for. I got no problem with that.
I'm reading my lips, no new taxes, okay? So that being said, I guess we're ready to move on with bill number 4356.
Substitute Bill Number 4356, an ordinance calling and providing for the holding of an election in the County of St. Charles on the 8th day of November 2016 for the purpose of submitting to the qualified voters of said county a proposal to impose a countywide property tax of 5 cents per each $100 of assessed valuation, to establish a senior citizens services fund to improve the health, nutrition, and quality of life for persons 60 years of age or older who are residents of the county. Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Bill number 4356 passes. Moving on to bills for introduction. Bill number 4357.
Bill number 4357, requested by Bob Schnurr, sponsored by Joe Cronin, an ordinance amending the 2016 budget adopted as Ordinance 15-117 by making a supplemental appropriation in the Parks and Recreation Fund budget in the amount of $100,000 for a marksman hunting simulator, and a second supplemental appropriation in the Parks and Recreation Fund budget to amend the fund balance and add personnel, operating, and capital expenses for the Daniel Boone Home acquisition, now known as Lindenwood Park.
Questions and comments regarding bill number 4357? Hearing none. There are no table bills this evening. Okay. Any announcements or miscellaneous announcements for anyone? I would like to take this time. I'm sorry, John, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to caution people in St. Charles County that are allowed to shoot fireworks. It's coming up soon, and that you should respect your neighbors. Don't shoot fireworks onto their roofs. I get calls every year about people that have disregard for their neighbors. Please shoot your fireworks carefully and cautiously and with respect for your neighbors.
Or you can go to a lot of municipal celebrations in this county and watch fireworks there. That being said, the only other thing I would like to ask the council, Mr. August Bush III, their very generous donation, our county parks department that we enacted tonight. And with y'all's permission, I'd like to send a letter from the council as a whole thanking him for his donation and all the past support he's given us, as a civic-minded person in this county. So that be good? Okay.
Be good.
With that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Second. All in favor? We are adjourned. Okay.